Kdo smo mi, kaj delamo tukaj, kdo nadzira našo stvarnost, ali svet res upravlja 13 družin, le nekaj vprašanj, na katera poglobljena odgovarja svetovno priznani David Icke. Govori tudi o tem, da sta v življenju najpomembnejša ljubezen in pozitivno razmišljanje, kajti vse je energija, sreča pa je, kot pravi, dana vsem ljudem, vendar večina ljudi ne zleze iz svojega oklepa, da bi to dojeli. David Icke je človek, ki pove, kar drugi zamolčijo. V zadnjih 10 letih je v več kot 60 državah nagovoril več kot 150 milijonov ljudi. Tokrat bo odgovarjal na moje vprašanja v oddaji Klepet ob kavi.
Welcome in Slovenia.
Thank you.
So, in your opinion, who is really behind terrorism?
Well, to explain that, I think we need to look at a massive technique of mass manipulation, because if you are going to dictate the direction of billions of people, you can't do it physically with tanks in the street. You can do that in a small area, but you can't do it globally. The way you dictate the lives of billions is you get them to see the world the way you want them to see it. And so basically it's a psychological game, what I call the perception deception. So one of the most powerful of these techniques is what I call problem reaction solution. You want to change the world in some way. Say, for instance, in relation to terrorism, you want to justify more and more surveillance, more and more deletion of privacy, more and more of what the CIA has been exposed as doing, surveillance through the television and smartphones. And you know that if that was done openly, this is what we're going to do, there would be a big reaction against it. What do you need to do that for? What are you keeping surveillance on everybody for? So instead of doing it that way, you play problem reaction solution. At stage one, you create a problem which is designed to get the solution that you want. So if you want to impose a surveillance state, then you've got to frighten people into believing that although they don't want a surveillance state, it's necessary to protect them. So what do you do in this problem reaction solution? You create terrorism. The classic, of course, was the horrific events of 9/11, the official story of which is it's a fairy tale. The official story is a joke when you actually investigate it. And let us not forget, by the way, that the very same people, Bush, Blair, and those administrations, that told us there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq when they knew they weren't, that was a problem reaction solution to justify the invasion of Iraq. Those same people gave us the official story of 9/11. And it's extraordinary that the mainstream media around the world accepts that they were lied to about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, but accept the official story of 9/11, which came from the same people. I mean, hello? So if you can create a terrorist attack and blame someone else for it, the mainstream media, if you look at it around the world, takes what the government says is the explanation of this event and passes it on to the public, to stage two. What you're looking for at stage two is the reaction. And if you look at 9/11, you look at the reaction. It was understandably horror, it was fear, it was what's going on. And what they're looking for at this point is the response of, this can't go on, something must be done. What are you going to do about it? And then those that covertly created the problem and blame someone else, then responding to do something, openly offer the solutions to the problems they've covertly created. And so if you look at 9/11 as an example, that justified the so-called war on terror. And all this mayhem and catastrophe in the Middle East was justified by 9/11. Without 9/11, none of that could have happened, because there wouldn't have been an excuse for it. So manufactured terrorism is one of the major ways, certainly in recent years, that the justifications have been created to take away the most basic freedoms from people, justified by protecting people from terrorists.
So terrorism is only a tool for something else?
Yeah, I mean, are there real terrorists? Of course. Do they exist on the scale and with the sophistication of some of the things we've seen? No. I mean, you know, when you've got long-time intelligence insiders saying about 9/11, for instance, that could not possibly have happened without the cooperation and coordination of at least one major intelligence agency. Mm-hmm. You know, these things are there to get us to see the world in a certain way so that we will accept the world changing as a result of that. And what I've been doing all these years is taking these official stories and saying, well, hold on, yes, it might be true. Let's see if it's true. And like I say, when you break down the official story of 9/11, it's ridiculous. If that's true that they say, then that can't be true. If that's true, that can't be true. I'll give you an example. The lead hijacker on 9/11 was said to be Mohammed Attar, this extreme Muslim. Well, he had a white American girlfriend. His favorite food was pork. He often got drunk, and he was regularly using cocaine. And one of the things his girlfriend says, when she revealed this, was that he used to go, because they lived in Venice, you know, Venice airport, where the people trained on one-engine Cessnas to fly wide-bodied jets on 9/11. I mean, what? And they lived in Venice, and she said that when they ran out of cocaine, he would go across to Venice airport and come back with armloads of it. Now, if you do research on another angle, which is the way the CIA runs the global drug trafficking industry, why does it do that? Because it creates vast amounts of money that it can use to spend on these fake manipulated events, which do not go through official channels, so can't be traced in the paperwork. It's called the black budget, that's what they call it. And Venice Airport was, at least at the time of 9/11, one of the major CIA drug conduits, bringing drugs in from South America into America to Venice Airport, and then they'd go out onto the streets of America. So when Attar's girlfriend talks about him going to Venice Airport and coming back with armloads of cocaine, that fits exactly with what the CIA were doing through Venice Airport. What did I say? The CIA. The CIA is involved with Attar? What? I thought the CIA were trying to stop terrorism. When you break down the surface and see what's underneath, the world is very different to what we've been told it is.
So who is staying behind these planning wars? Military, royal families, Illuminati, dark cabal?
Yeah, it's a massive story. This is why, you know, when I talk at events, I talk for 10 hours with about 1,600 illustrations, because the version of everything that we're given, if you look at the education system, you look at the mainstream media, look at mainstream everything, science, medicine, anything, we're given such a tiny, tiny band of information and knowledge and perception of reality. And when you just open your mind and you go outside those tram lines, it's like nothing's like we're told it was. And when you then start to uncover who's really controlling everything, it's not the people we see. It's one of the things that I say to people, you know, don't get caught with here today, gone tomorrow politicians. Because if you do, you're looking at the oil rags, if you like, not the engineers of global events. Bush comes, goes. Obama comes, goes. Trump comes, he'll go.
Who stays?
That's the question. The question is, who is always there? So that one agenda for the world goes on unchanged, no matter who the puppets in the White House or the government building are. And then when you therefore really get deep into it, you find that if you could think of a spider's web, and in the center is the spider that's well into the hidden, well away from the public eye. And in the middle is this spider. This is directing the operation and the direction of the world. Mm-hmm. Around the spider are strands in the web that represent, very close to the spider, the most exclusive secret societies. Many of them at that level don't even have names. It makes them harder to identify. Then as you come out from the spider, you come into the secret societies that we do know about, into the Freemasons, Opus Dei, Knights of Malta, Knights Templar.
Skulls and Bones.
Yeah, Skull and Bones, exactly, in America. Skull and Bones, secret society in America. Its headquarters is right next to Yale University. Mm-hmm. And in 2004, I mean, it's a very exclusive small club. And what you do with the Skull and Bones is you are initiated into it, and you pledge your allegiance above all else to the Skull and Bones and its agenda. Mm-hmm. In 2004, George Bush, Skull and Bones member, went for the presidency against John Kerry, Skull and Bones member. It's a very, very rarefied atmosphere when you get to that level of all this. So you hit those secret societies we do know about. Skull and Bones is less well known. And then you hit what I call the cusp organizations in the web. And these are things like the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations in America, the Trilateral Commission, etc., the Club of Rome, which was created in the 60s to manipulate the environment as an excuse to change society. And these cusp organizations are the point in the web where the hidden meets the seen. Mm-hmm. And these are gatherings of politicians, of intelligence people, bankers, corporate leaders, all these different media people, coordinating a collective direction, a collective policy, if you like, over a lot of policy areas. Then through those cusp organizations, we enter that level of the web, which is the world of the seen. We see government agencies, governments, the banking system, corporations, global media organizations. And in the world of the seen, in this web, the public appear to see decisions being made that are changing society, being made by the organizations they can see. Oh yeah, the government's decided this, or this agency's decided that, or the banks have decided to do this. In fact, all that is coming from the spider, from deep in the hidden, and it plays out in the scene.
So who is the spider?
The spider in the end, this would always
is it human?
No, it's not. It always takes a lot of people back because, within these small parameters of possibility, they don't include, although many people, do think about this, but the official story of reality that we're given through the education system and the media doesn't include the fact that in the great forever, in the great eternity, there might actually be intelligent life that's not human. I mean, hello? And when I was going along this road of going deeper and deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole, through all these levels that I'm talking about, suddenly you start to hit the fact that behind if you like, the human level of this manipulation is a non-human force. And when I talk about the hidden, I mean literally the hidden from human sight, because we can't really understand the world of the seen unless we understand the world that we can't see. And when you think about this, according to mainstream science, the electromagnetic spectrum is about 0.005% of what they say exists in the universe, in energy, mass, matter, and all the rest of it. Visible light, which is the only frequency band that we can see, is a tiny fraction of the 0.005%, which brings us to this realization. Almost the entirety of what exists in the great forever, we can't see.
We're blind.
But this is the point. The programming of mass perception is such that most people can only perceive reality within the band of visible light, within the realm of the five senses. The question is, can I hear it? Can I touch it? Can I taste it? Can I see it? If I can't, it can't exist. When the great entirety, virtually, of existence exists beyond that five-sense realm. And one of the great foundations of mass human control is to hold people's perception of reality and perception of possibility within that tiny band of visible light. So anything outside it cannot exist. So when people like me talk about entities manipulating our reality, the reality of visible light from outside the realm of the seen, it's like, that guy's mad. What do you mean?
What he's on.
But this is the point. The reason they say that is because although what I've just said about the entirety virtually of reality being unseen to the human eye, where is that taught in the schools? Where is that appearing as a matter of course in the mainstream media? I mean, just people ask themselves that. Why is this kept from us? Why is this basic understanding of reality itself kept from us? Because we have to have our attention in there, otherwise our minds will open. And that's one of the reasons they try to suppress knowledge and evidence of extraterrestrial visitations. Because imagine, you're there, that's your perception of reality, and then suddenly non-human life exists, and that's revealed to you. What's your mind going to do? Your sense of reality, it's going to explode open. They don't want that. They want us here.
They want us to stay blind.
To stay asleep. And what I've found as I've gone on this world tour, particularly, I mean, I've been doing this now for nearly 30 years, but particularly since I started this particular world tour in the summer of 2016, the number of people who are now starting to do that is extraordinary.
Technology that we are using right now, it's so smart, it's clever, it's it's all that we never hoped for. But is it really so modern? Is this really something new, or is the real technology, modern technology, hidden?
Well, around the world are underground bases. They call them DUMBs, deep underground military bases. And in those and other hidden areas, technology that is way ahead of anything in the public arena is being developed.
But way ahead, you mean like, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, or a decade?
Even further. Anything we see in the public arena at the cutting edge of technology is way back from what they actually have. And what I've uncovered over the years is this. There is an agenda. It goes way back, and it has been to take complete control of the human mind and human perception, right down to human thought and human emotion, so that you can basically turn the population into robots. And what we're seeing now is the people that are promoting this openly describing exactly that world. There's a man in America, he's a Google executive. I call him the PR man for Frankenstein. It's called Ray Kurzweil.
Yes.
And he's openly talking about the fact that by 2030, the human brain will be, via technology, connected to what he calls the cloud. And the cloud is artificial intelligence. Now, what has been happening, I think I talked about this the last time, was that we have been brought along and programmed to perceive a very narrow band of possibility. and to self-identify who we are with the realm of the five senses. So if I said to someone, who are you? They'd tell me their name, they'd tell me their job, they'd give me the 5 sense rundown of who they are. What we really are is awareness, a state of being aware. The body is just a vehicle for that awareness to express itself in this reality, this band of frequency we call the world. And it's been very, very effective, this program perception, holding people's attention, point of attention in the 5 senses. This technological part of it that's now unfolding so fast is to take that control of perception to the next level. It is to get technology inside the body, inside the brain, attach it to this cloud, this artificial intelligence, and then it will feed our thoughts, our emotions, our responses, everything. Don't even take my word for that. Ray Kurzweil says that once we are connected technologically to this cloud, over time, the cloud, artificial intelligence, will do more and more of our thinking until, he says, there's no human left as we perceive human now. Oof. That means what? That humans become nothing more than a biological computer terminal on this cloud internet. And the reason they're so open about it is because of the sales pitch, which is, once this happens, we'll become superhuman. No, we'll become subhuman. And that's the idea. What is happening in front of our eyes, particularly with the young, because it's all a perception deception, is getting them addicted to technology. I mean, you walk down almost any country in the world, you're seeing that. Yeah. And they put it down, but they got to pick it up again. Who is in control there? The person or the smartphone? In other words, the technology is already in control. And this has been the plan. Stage 1, get them addicted to technology that they hold. This is the smartphones, the tablets. Stage 2, get them to have technology that's on the body. The idea is to get in the body, so get it on the body. So it's your smartwatches, it's your Google Glass, it's your Bluetooth. Get them on the body. And the next stage, and it's already happening, and this was in my books in the 90s that this was coming, you get it inside the body. Mm-hmm. You get the microchips in and what have you. And the microchips now, they're dust. They're just, you can breathe them in. And then you connect them to the cloud, and they stop being human, and they start being the cloud. And this is the question. You know, we talked last time about, you know, what's ultimately behind this, and I was saying that it's a non-human, it's non-human, and it takes a non-human, if you like, quote, physical form. Not that there is any physical, that's another story. It takes a reptilian form, it takes the form of what they call greys and others. But ultimately, what this force is, it's a state of awareness, it's a state of consciousness. It's a very inverted state of consciousness, which you can give a word to that we would recognize, and that's psychopathic. It's a psychopathic consciousness. If you look at a human psychopath, what is it that makes them a psychopath? Is it their eyes? Is it their legs? Is it their arms? No, it's their state of awareness that makes them psychopathic. And the key, there's a list, it's called the hair test. And it's a list of character traits. And if you have enough of them, they call you a psychopath. Mm-hmm. Top of that list, no empathy. The inability to put yourself in the feelings of those you make suffer. This is the inverted awareness that has infiltrated this world. Yes, it takes a non-human form, reptilian, grey, whatever, but at the basis, it is a deeply inverted, distorted state of awareness that has no capacity for empathy. This is the state of awareness that drops bombs on the innocent and has no emotional consequence for it. Now, I'm coming back to technology here, because, of course, all the time now we hear this phrase, artificial intelligence. Oh, artificial intelligence is running this. They've got artificial intelligence now flying military planes, sailing or controlling military craft and ships. It's all artificial intelligence. All artificial intelligence is doing this. Here's the question I never ask. What is it? What is this artificial intelligence that's taking over everything and controlling everything? They're even bringing now in driverless cars, controlled by what? Artificial intelligence. All around us, this technological prison's being built. I say this artificial intelligence, ultimately, is this state of awareness, which we are being manipulated to build a technological vehicle for. The CIA announced some time ago, when the guy called David Petraeus was its brief head, that we were moving into the era of what they called the Internet of Things. This is now happening. What they meant by that was everything is connected to the internet. Your fridge, your car, everything.
Yes.
And therefore, as we've seen with this WikiLeaks dump of files about the way the CIA were hacking into smartphones and televisions and everything, it means, how can they hack into a smart television and film you and record you in your own home? Because the television's connected to the internet.
Of course.
That's the way in.
But nowadays everything is connected to the internet.
So if you attach everything to the internet, including eventually the human mind, the cloud, that's what the internet is, then whoever controls the internet controls everything attached to it, including the human mind. And this is what is happening all the time. And we need to take a step back, and because people have got caught into this enthusiasm about technology. So, you know, you've got a smartphone. Oh, I've got a tablet. Oh, I've got this. Oh, have you seen the latest? I've got to have the latest. Now, what this is doing is creating a momentum, pushing forward. Have you seen the latest technology? Have you seen the latest technology? And eventually, have you seen the latest? What you do is you put that little chip in your head and it connects you to the internet. It takes you to the cloud. Isn't that great? And what I'm trying to say to people is, no, it ain't great. Take a breath, take a step back, look at what's really happening. The human race is being taken over by technological artificial intelligence, and it's happening by the day.
And we want it.
We're being manipulated to want it.
Yeah.
And this is the reason they're targeting the young. Because the young are not always young. They move into the positions of power. They become the general population eventually. And if you have addicted them to technology, then they will carry on with that through their adult lives and accept this state of technological, robotic awareness, which by then they'll mistake for their own mind. And this is the thing. Do we want to think for ourselves, or do we want to just become a computer terminal for an artificial intelligence?
But how many years is this artificial intelligence, present on Earth?
Oh,
how many?
Going way back. You know, I remember
50,000 years, 70,000.
Well, I would like to put a date on it, but it goes way back, thousands, tens of thousands of years, and then a heck of a lot more. And there was a shaman in Central America who asked a question, because he was talking about this. This is the whole thing. When I've been around the world and I've talked to shamans and looked at the stories and the legends of ancient peoples, they are telling you this. They're using their own terms, they're using their own descriptions, they're using their own names, but they're describing this non-human force manipulating human affairs. And this shaman asked this question: explain to me the brilliance of man the engineer against his stupidity of his beliefs and superstitions. How can you be so brilliant as an engineer and then buy these ridiculous superstitions and stuff? And the answer to that is, humanity has been covertly developed mentally, intellectually, to become able to technologically build this prison, but not at the same time wise enough and awake enough to see that that's what they're doing.
So this is why it's more important to be wise and creative than clever and have, I don't know, high IQ.
Well, you know, cleverness without wisdom is the most destructive force on earth. It's very clever to build an atomic bomb. It's not very wise to do so. It's even less wise to use it. And so the intellect has become the dominant, worshipped state of awareness. Oh, he's got a great mind. Well, the mind is a very low level of consciousness. Compared with expanded awareness beyond mind, it's the village idiot. And what I think Einstein said this. You know, we've reached a situation where we worship the mind and discard the awareness beyond mind. And it's only when you get into that expanded level of awareness beyond the mind, and what I'm calling the mind, how does that basically perceive? It sees everything through the five senses. When you go beyond the five senses into expanded awareness, you see the world in a completely different way, and you also see how limited the intellect is. And this is another thing that I write about. We have two hemispheres of the brain. The left side of the brain, although there are crossovers, of course there are, but the left side of the brain is basically the intellect. It sees the world in the way that people perceive the world, hierarchy and structure, and this world. The right brain is the creative, it's the maverick, it's the spontaneous. And that's what they want to shut down. And if you look at the education system, which children go in from the very earliest age now, it's all about getting that engaged and suppressing that.
In Slovenia as well, they don't dance so much, they don't sing, they don't write, I don't know, poetry, they don't use the brush and then create something.
Exactly. That's another thing. What they're doing, I don't know what it's like in Slovenia, but what they're doing in Britain and other countries, America, is that even in preschool, they're now introducing what you might call academic type subjects. And the greatest thing a child can do in all its early years is play. Because what is play? It's imagination. It's stimulating and opening the right brain of creativity. See, the left brain sees everything in dots. That's a dot, that's a dot, that's a dot, that's a dot. Different subjects, different areas. The right brain goes, whoa, I see the picture. It sees the dots connected. Once you see what I call the forest instead of the twigs, which is what that is, then suddenly you see the twigs in a completely different light. You see the dots in a completely different light. So that's what's going on. Because unless you see the context of the dots and how they connect to others, you cannot understand anything. And so that's why they want the right brain shut down. And this is why funding for the arts and drama and all this, all being cut at the expense of academic subjects which lock people in here.
I read somewhere that if we want to use our instincts, our intuition, we need to equally the left and the right brain, that we come together in the harmony.
That's the biggest fear they have. It's not right brain people, because if you're too right brained, you can be
useful,
incredibly creative, but dysfunctional in this world. You can't function in the world. What they're terrified of is whole brain people who balance the two, where they're in this world, but not of it.
But sometimes, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 years ago, when I read about politicians, they were as well painters, so they use the left and the right side of the brain. Politicians now, they're just right-brained.
Well, you see, there's this great phrase, if your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, right? So if you are stuck in your left brain with its perception of reality, the only solutions you can see to problems created by the left brain are solutions concluded by the left brain. And that's why we go round and round and round and round. And that's why Einstein said, we will never solve problems with the same level of consciousness that created them.
Great thought for the end of our discussion. Thank you very much. Torej, najlepša hvala. In še kakšna informacija na klepet@kavi.si. Pogovore bomo tudi nadaljevali na Facebooku, tako da se le prijavite oziroma preverite in vse minule posnetke tudi najdete na našem YouTube posnetku oziroma na YouTube kanalu. A ti je bil posnetek všeč? Ja, super bi bilo, če ga deliš tudi s svojimi prijatelji. Še kakšna informacija glede novic in vsega ostalega, pa na klepet@kavi.si. Naj vam bo svetlepo.